And what is this power? Generally we say poor people when they don't have money. They are very poor. But the poor people who don't have money do have the power of, they have their social, cultural, spiritual power. See, the social, cultural, spiritual power is very powerful. What is missing is only money. And many people who have a lot of money don't have social, spiritual, cultural power. Right? So they are also poor. So if you can understand the power of the poor, and that's a very strong pillar, rather than looking at poor people with a mentality of charity, if you understand that these are very powerful people with whom we are relating, because they are socially, culturally, spiritually very powerful, then our approach to poor people will be different. And these poor people coming together is a huge pillar. Then the second pillar is called the power of the young. Young people. See, we fail to reach out to the young people of the world. And it is urgent. It is my appeal that this is urgent, that if we don't reach out to young people of the world, there are others waiting to reach out to them with their idea of violence and gun. Young people are waiting for an opportunity to do something in life. We fail to reach out, others reach out. And then we say there is so much violence in the world. So the young people, the power of young people, that is a huge pillar. How do you get young people to come together to take responsibility for their own community? When we march, 25,000 people march from the city of Gwalior to Delhi, 350 kilometers. There are 3,000 trained young people managing the whole show. When 100,000 people are marching, there are 13,000 young people trained. And these young people are awake. They want to do something. So this power of young, power of the youth, need to be seen as a pillar for succeeding social movement. And the third pillar is called the power of solidarity. See, when 25,000 people were marching to Delhi, there were 25,000 letters from different parts of the world to the Prime Minister of India. And 25,000 letters were more powerful than 25,000 people marching.
Bravo.
Because the Prime Minister is more concerned about global image, not about the poor people marching. And 25,000 people all over the world saying, look, Mr. Prime Minister, what are you doing? Taking their resources, give it back. It's a shame. So that was very, very powerful. So solidarity, I think, this is something which we need to build as a very strong instrument, solidarity. We all do express solidarity, but not the level at which that need to be done. So power of solidarity is the third pillar. And the fourth pillar, the power of non-violence. Right? Young people need to know that it's a very, very powerful instrument. Because there is so much propaganda by the companies producing arms. They are spending millions and millions just to make young people to believe that taking a gun is revolutionary and speaking about non-violence is cowards. See, there are many words that are being coined by these companies. You just tell in India what they call. It is a very simple Hindi sentence. Majburi ka naam Mahatma Gandhi. What does it mean? Gandhi was helpless, so he opted for non-violence. This is one sentence. And they continuously teach this to the young people. Gandhi opted for non-violence because he was helpless. If he had the money, he would have bought revolver and gun and fought against the British. Slowly, these companies, we don't even understand how it is happening, how fast it is happening. Every young man start believing that taking gun is revolution and power, and believing in non-violence is the art of cowards. So we have a responsibility to counter this process as fast as possible. There was a survey in India recently. The first survey, there were 3 surveys, one after the other. The first survey was by soft drink companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, and it concludes that 60% people are consuming Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola in India, and 40% market is available and we need to capture it in the next 10 years. Good. Second survey, mobile phones. 40% people are using mobile phone in India, 60% market is available, we need to capture it in the next 10 years. Good. But the third survey was dangerous. Third survey was done by small arms producing companies, producers of small arms. 2% Indians are using small arms. 98% market is available which need to be captured in the next 30 years. So for them it is market. And you and me know, when Obama came to power, what did he promise? That we are going to introduce a Small Arms Control Act in the Parliament. Did he succeed even after 8 years in power? He couldn't bring that act, in spite of young people taking gun and shooting each other. So the arms companies are spending millions in propaganda and making young people to believe how strong men should behave by taking gun. And those who can't take gun are useless people. We need to be very, very active. So this idea of believing in non-violence and using non-violence as a powerful pillar to act against oppression, injustice and disparity is something very important. So putting these 4 pillars, the power of the poor, power of the young, power of solidarity and power of non-violence. The last many years I have realized that there can be many more pillars. I am not denying. But then I was using these 4 pillars, and every time when we started something we were succeeding. Right? In 2007 when 25,000 people marched, we came back with Forest Rights Act. Adivasi, indigenous people's right over forest. 2012 when we marched, we came back with a new act of Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation, Resettlement Act, etc., etc. So creating more space for the poor people, farmers, etc., etc. So in this process, what Lily was mentioning this idea of dealing with direct violence. So there were many bandits in a region, and these bandits were, government was spending millions and millions to get these bandits, kill them. Right? And we were systematically talking to the government saying that, look, why shouldn't the non-violent group get involved to deal with this problem? And government didn't agree with it for many, many years. And finally, because of some disciples of Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, Jayaprakash Narayan, these are not very well known names in the West, East. But then they intervened, and finally government said, okay, if you want to try, try. So a problem on which government was spending millions and millions every year, we were able to solve it through a process of dialogue. Go deep into the forest, sit down with this gang, they are called gang of 20, gang of 30 with gun and big moustache. Sit down in the night at 3 o'clock because they cannot come out during the day, so you need to be available at 3 o'clock in the morning in the forest. And through a process of dialogue, they were made to understand why they need to come back to the mainstream life. This life, they can have some money and name, etc., etc., but because of their behavior, how the entire society is suffering. So through a process of dialogue, 562 bandits with their machine gun and gun. Imagine 562 guns piling up, one on top of the other. And that happened in 1972, many years back. And there was a beautiful reconciliation process when these bandits were sent to jail. There was only one agreement, that they will not be sentenced to death, nothing else. They will have to go to prison, they will have to spend all their time in prison, and according to the law. And when they were in prison, we got the so-called enemies from outside, the families where people died or they got killed. They were brought into the prison, they spoke to each other, hugged each other, tears were rolling down, and finally, forgive, forget. Right? So when the bandits came out of the prison, no one was killed. Otherwise, when you come out, the fear was that their old enemies, the so-called old enemies, will be waiting for them to come out of the prison so we can shoot and kill them. Nothing happened. So all of them are rehabilitated. So Lily was visiting some of them, Ramesh Sikrawal and group, and they were explaining to her their story, how much terror they created when they were bandits, and how the dialogue happened, how they surrendered their weapon, how they went to the prison and suffered inside the prison for 20 years and came back, and now they are happy with their families. So I think there are many examples of non-violent action of that kind, but then what is more interesting is young people making intervention to get rid of indirect violence in the society. So indirect violence is the breeding ground for direct violence. If you don't deal with injustice, exploitation and problems, at some point they get tired and take to violence. So let us all come together to reach out to our young people, train them up, give them this hope, and through them organize the communities and deal with indirect violence in the society or systemic violence in the society, so that we don't even give scope and space for direct violence to emerge. That is a very important work, and I want to thank you for this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.